The conventional answer, the popular answer to Hashgach, Pratis, and Bechira is that just because the Eibishter knows what you're going to do, that doesn't interfere with your freedom to do as you want. Just like if a Navi tells you what's going to be, he's not influencing your choice. But still, it leaves a little something. But if he already knows, then how could you do differently? Or in different words, if you could change your mind, then how does he know what you're going to do in the end? That's why people feel that there's a contradiction. If he knows you don't have Bechira, what's one got to do with the other? How can he know for sure that you're going to do X if you're perfectly capable of doing Y? So, for example, a good psychiatrist can predict how you're going to behave in a crisis. But what makes him able to predict it? The fact that you're programmed, that you don't have a choice. If somebody pushes your button, you're going to explode, which means you don't have a choice. So if the Eibishter can say for certain how you're going to behave under certain circumstances, that's because you're programmed. So where's the freedom? And if you had real freedom, how could you say for sure? So the answer to that is the Eibishter is in the future, right? The Eibishter is not predicting. The Eibishter is above time, l'mayla min hazman. So he sees the future as it happens. Now he comes to the present where you are and tells you what you're going to do tomorrow. But he's not predicting. He saw you make a choice tomorrow. So how does the Eibishter know what you're going to do? Because he sees you doing it. So he knows for sure that you did it because you did it. And he's not interfering with your Bechira because you did it from your Bechira. So to put it dramatically, does the Eibishter know what you're going to do before you do it? No. No. Because by him there's no before. So he knows what you're going to do by what you did. So the way to put it is this. It's not the Eibishter knows what you're going to do before you choose it. The Eibishter knows what you chose before you know what you chose. Because you're stuck in the present and the Eibishter is already in the future. Now here's the beautiful romantic part of it. Rabbi Akiva's daughter was supposed to die on her wedding night, wedding day. She didn't because she gave tzedakah tatzil memoves, so she lived a long life with her husband. So how are we supposed to understand this? She was supposed to die on her wedding, which means that she was not going to have any children, which means that her husband would have to remarry after she dies and have children with another woman. All of this was unplanned because she was supposed to die. So when she doesn't die, it messes up everything. Now the Eibishter has to find children for her that she was never meant to have. And the woman that was going to marry her husband after she dies now doesn't have a husband. And she doesn't have the children she was supposed to have with her husband. So you can say, okay, for the Eibishter, it's not a problem. He can rearrange things very easily. He's flexible. But it seems strange that that's what's going on. So let's try this again. Rabbi Akiva's daughter lived a long life, and she was married to her husband, and she had children with her husband. Was that meant to be? Was that part of the Hashgacha? So at the beginning of creation, when the Eibishter looked at all that he was going to do, did he see her having children with her husband or not? On the one hand, you're saying, tzedakah tatzil mimoves. It's tzedakah that changed her fate, which means she was really supposed to die. And only the tzedakah changed it. On the other hand, it doesn't sound right that the Eibishter had to reinvent the world because she made a change. So the bottom line is this. All Hashgacha Pratis is fashioned and decided around your Bechira. Which means, because Rabbi Akiva's daughter chose to give tzedakah, that's what the Hashgacha Pratis was based on. In other words, your Bechira comes first, and the Eibishter plans according to your Bechira. So we have the impression, Hashgacha Pratis means the Eibishter made a plan 6,000 years ago. And now, if you have Bechira Chavshis, he's going to have to change the plan. That's not really correct. 6,000 years ago, the Eibishter made a plan based on your Bechira. First, he saw you choosing, then he made his plan. On the one hand, that makes so much sense. And on the other hand, it puts the person into such a significant, powerful position. All of Hashgacha Pratis is determined by your freedom of choice. Because you chose to give tzedakah, therefore the Eibishter will give you long life. But that was decided 6,000 years ago because he already saw you making your choice. So in general, you can't say, does the Eibishter know what you're going to choose before you choose it? There's no before. So does the Hashgacha Pratis come before you choose it? Why does it have to come before? There is no before. So how does the Eibishter decide what he wants to do? Based on what you choose, that's what he decides, what should happen as a result of your choices. Where does it say all this? The Maggid said, Da malamaylo mimcha. Not know what is above you. Da, you should know that malamaylo, whatever is going on above in the Hashgacha Pratis plan, is mimcha. It all comes from your Bechira. So the Eibishter is actually letting you lead the dance, and he plans accordingly. So now, is tzedakah tatzil mimavas? Or was that just part of the plan? So we find that there are a number of things, maybe 4 things, 5 things, that are used by the Eibishter as a channel for life. For example, you have one person goes through an entire life, 90 years, never went to see a doctor. He was healthy for 90 years without a doctor. His neighbor also lived to 90 years, but that was with the intervention of a doctor. Rape. So what was the Hashgach Pratis? The Hashgach Pratis was, this person will live to be 90 without a doctor. This person will live to be 90, but with a doctor. So can a doctor say, why do I have to get up in the middle of the night and go run to see the patient? Whatever's been decided has already been decided. If he's meant to live, he'll live, and if not, not. You can't say that, because it's very possible that he was meant to live through you. Then there's another thing. If you get a bracha from a tzaddik, if you get a bracha from a rebbe, then you're healed. Then you don't die. Without the rebbe, you would die. So here, a person's life is long because of the intervention of a doctor. Here, the person lives long because of the intervention of a bracha from a tzaddik. And the same is true with tshuva. Tshuva can lengthen your life. Some people are meant to live long because they will do tshuva. And then there's tzedakah. Tzedakah is tatzil mimavis. Without the tzedakah, the Eibishter would not give you the long life, but with the intervention of tzedakah, you get to live a long life. So these are channels through which the Eibishter gives life. But not that the tzedakah catches the Eibishter by surprise, and now he has to reinvent your life. So again, does the tzedakah really make a difference? Absolutely. If you didn't choose to give the tzedakah, the Hashgach Pratis plan would be different. It's very powerful.
Can you expand a little more on how it works when one person's bechira affects the second person?
So we know from Yosef, story with Yosef and his brothers, that one person's bechira does not affect another person's life. Like Yosef said, you tried to harm me, that was your intention, but the Eibishter's intention for me is independent of what you thought you were doing. So here's another very important point. What are Yosef's brothers, the Shvatim, what are they guilty of? The suffering that Yosef went through? No. They are guilty of their bechira hara. They made a bad choice. Now, there are many people who make bad choices and they try to do something bad and they don't succeed. It doesn't happen. They don't pull it off. They go out to rob a bank, but they get lost, they get verblunget, it's too late, they don't rob the bank. So did they make a bechira? Did they have bechira? Yes. Did they use their bechira? Yes. Anything interfere with their bechira? No. But does bechira, when the Eibishter says, I'm giving you the opportunity to make a choice, does he guarantee that whatever choice you're going to make, you're going to succeed? So if you decide to open this business and become rich, you're going to become rich? If you decide to rob the bank is going to get robbed? You decide to hurt somebody, that person is going to be in pain? No. Bechira literally means freedom to make a choice, not freedom to hurt somebody. Come on, doesn't that make sense? Why would the Eibishter give you the freedom to hurt somebody? Just so that you can have Bechira? That doesn't sound right at all. The Eibishter doesn't give you the freedom and the right and the power to hurt somebody. He only gives you the freedom to choose to hurt. So the words are precise. Freedom of choice, not freedom of consequence or success or outcome. Now, even when a person chooses to kill himself, how often do they succeed? How often do they fail? So who determines whether they succeed or fail? You can say those who really mean it succeed, and those who are not so convinced or so committed, they won't succeed. There are people who are very committed and they do everything they need to do to kill themselves, but they didn't realize that somebody was watching, and he called the police and they saved them. So the outcome of your Bechira is not part of your Bechira. So if a person decides to kill someone and he buys a gun and he points it and he pulls the trigger, is he a murderer? Or does it depend on whether the guy dies? Suppose he pulls the trigger and misses. The guy moved. The victim moved. So he missed him. Is he a murderer? Yes, he is. Because he chose to kill somebody, and that's all he can do is choose to kill. Of course, he has to act on it. If it's just a machshava, then no, he's not a murderer. But if he acted on it, that's it. He did everything he could do to kill. The fact that he didn't kill, that's not part of his choice, and it's not to his credit. So what happens if the intended victim does get shot? That means that the Eibishter decided that this person should be shot, or that this is the day that he has to pass away. That's already the Eibishter's doing. Like Yosef said, you tried to harm me. That was your chashaftem l'ra. You had a bad intention, and that's your problem. But what happened to me comes from the Eibishter, not from you. In fact, it came through you. And for that, he gave them presents. The good things that came to Yosef came through the brothers. So even though their intention was bad, but Lepoil, they were the delivery, they were the vehicle through which the Eibishter gave him his good fortune to be Mishnah Lamelech. And for that, he rewarded them. So there are two completely different cheshbonos going on. There's the Bechira, and then there's what the Eibishter decides should happen in response to that Bechira. So Hashgach Pratis means you decided to shoot the guy, and the Eibishter decided you should miss. So the Rambam actually says, a person is nidain al reya bechirase. By the Eibishter, not by the courts, but by the Eibishter, he judges you on the nature of your bechira, not whether there's a corpse or not. In a court, in a human court, You can't punish a person if there is no body, if there's no victim, because the person can say, I meant to miss him. I never meant to shoot him. So I never chose to be a murderer. I just wanted to scare him. And a human being can't know. Masha b'libe shel chavere. But because the Eibishter does know, the Eibishter judges your bechira. The court has to judge by what they see. So in essence, the choice, the decision to be a murderer makes you a murderer. And it doesn't matter who got shot or how many people got shot, you're a murderer. You used your bechira badly.